Alright guys, welcome back to a special edition of Monday Smartphone News. Remember I used to do news every Monday? Well, I'm just going to give you some special news today because there is a lot of phones that are at Mobile World Congress, and a lot of phones are getting released and announced, I should say, not released, announced. And I wanted to cover some of them in this video, tell you about some of my favorites, or things that, some of the phones that interest me, and some of the ones that I think are ridiculous. So I'm going to just go down the list here. I have a huge list here, so kick back, relax, and just enjoy me jabbering on. Anyway, it's your man Jay. So Sony, the Sony 10 and 10 Plus and L3. Now these are, I posted on social media a while back about these, and they're phones that are like the 21:9 ratio. So these are going to be very tall phones. If you thought that the Galaxy Note 9 was a long phone, think again. This phone is actually 21:9, and I'll get to OnePlus in a little bit, but Sony has decided to take this route with this very elongated phone. Now I don't know the pricing of these yet, but to me they're actually pretty sweet. So I want to read off a couple of the specs here from the ones that I'm interested in, because there are several. So you've got the Xperia 1, and then you've got the Xperia 10 Plus, the Xperia 10, and then the Xperia L3. So the Xperia 1, just check this out. It's a 6.5 inch 4K display. It's 1644 by 3840, and it's got a Snapdragon 855 with the 12 megapixel cameras on the rear. I think there's like 3 of them on the rear. There's 2 of them on the rear. Nope, 3 on the rear. One at 1.6 aperture, which is a wide angle. Then you've got a telephoto lens at 12 megapixel. These are all 12 megapixel on the rear at 2.4, and then you've got a 2.4 ultra wide lens on the rear, and on the front it has an 8 megapixel camera. So the great part about this phone, man, is it's got that long look to it. I'm actually kind of intrigued by this because it'll be very long, but it's going to be very easy in the hand. It's like holding your old home phone. Remember your old home phone? Yeah, it should feel something like that. Now there's different variants, it says, of 64 and 128 gigs of storage, 6 gigs of RAM, and this is kind of like, it sounds like this is their flagship phone. It's got stereo speakers, a 3330 milliamp hour battery inside, and this is just, it's going to ship with Android 9, obviously, and it's coming in June of 2009. So this is the problem, I think, with some OEMs. They announce these things way too soon, and a person like myself, I'm going to lose interest quickly, and I'm going to forget all about this phone. Now, kicking gears over to the phone that I thought was going to have a Snapdragon, which is the Xperia 10 and 10 Plus. So the 10 Plus has a 6.5 inch 1080p display, and has a 13 megapixel on the rear, and it has dual, it sets you some conflicting information, dual 12 megapixels, and then an 8 megapixel on the front. I guess they need to update their specs there. With 4 gigs of RAM, Snapdragon 636, 3000 milliamp hour battery. Now my only problem with this phone is that Snapdragon 636. The Snapdragon 600 series, once they left the 625 series alone, I lost interest because those phones that I have, they're just not as blazing fast. Now the 610, the 630 is in the smaller version of the Xperia 10, which is a 6-inch display with a 1080p with 4 gigs of RAM. So it's kind of hit or miss with these. I really was hoping to, get some Snapdragon 845 and those designs that I saw there. I didn't know about the Xperia 1, obviously, because I hadn't seen any leaks on that. However, Sony's offerings right now, that's it. Now let's kick it over to a company that has supported my channel. Oh man, they have supported me to the fullest. One of the few companies that have genuinely stood behind me, and that is ZTE. Now, ZTE just announced the Axon 10 Pro 5G flagship. They announced it. So the Axon 10 Pro is a phone that, wow, it should pack it all, man. You've got, it does have a 6.47 inch AMOLED display, 6 gigs of RAM, 128 gigs onboard storage. Fingerprint reader is under the screen, so this should be pretty interesting. I'm pretty sure this will probably have at least a Snapdragon 845. I don't see any specs on that when I'm reading down this list here. But I'm sure it'll have at least a Snapdragon 845. Nope, there it is, Snapdragon 855. I don't have my glasses on, and that's kind of blurry to me. So they've announced that, and then they also announced the Blade V10. Now this has a 1080p display coming in at 6.3 inches, and you know, this is kind of that one for the budget. It just says, you know, an octa-core 2.1 gigahertz processor. You can get a 32 or 64 gig or 3 gig, 4 gig setup there with a 3100 milliamp hour battery. So this is going to be interesting. I'm obviously more interested I'm interested in both, but obviously the Axon 10 Pro is where a lot of people are going to focus on, and you know, people just flock more towards, you know, the flagship devices, and that's just how it goes. So, you know, I don't have much to say about that at this point. I need to get some hands-on time. If I can get some of these phones, that will be fantastic, especially the Sony phones. I'm really interested in the Sony phones, man, because I like Sony phones. Their software is very fluid, very fast, and we'll see what ZTE is going to do here with the Axon 10 Pro once they actually get them into some hands of some loyal followers. I just did that. Now, while this isn't a smartphone, it goes in your smartphone. SanDisk has announced a 1 terabyte micro SD card. Now, and this is the SanDisk Extreme, so you already know it's going to cost the price of a smartphone. So anyone that's buying something like this, you know, you don't necessarily have to put this in a smartphone. You can put it in your camera. You know, if your camera can handle it, you know, if your DSLR or your mirrorless camera can handle it, that way you have pretty much unlimited storage. A terabyte is ridiculous. I actually do some of my backup files on my cloud storage, which is 2 terabytes. It's a home-based cloud storage, so I can get into my home storage from anywhere around the world. I can just log in, boom, boom, drop a file over there, and it's saved, and I can delete it from my device. However, 1 terabyte SD card is ridiculous. And it's also going to cost a premium price. So the price is $450. $450 for this premium SD card, writes at about 160 megabytes per second, that versus the 100 on the other ones that are out there. So $449, that's a pretty penny for an SD card. Meanwhile, you can get a 512 for about 200 or so. They also have the 400 gig models that are out there from other companies. I think SanDisk actually has one too. It's running at about 80 bucks right now on special, so just kind of do your research. Now, there is a phone that was teased at Mobile World Congress, and it is by none other than OnePlus. Now, I got something brewing for you here. I will have a special video for you on this bad boy here for OnePlus, for the OnePlus 6T. I'm gonna finish editing that and I'll have it up for you guys soon. But OnePlus has teased their upcoming 5G phone, and it is 21 by 9 for the next OnePlus device. So, you know, everybody's kind of talking about this 5G thing. You know, reality is, folks, think of it this way. Some people are still harping about band 12. You don't need band 12, but it is nice to have it. In some areas, I hear people saying, well, only band 12 is available for me, so I need band 12. Folks, you never want to get on a carrier if you only got one band available to you. Just think about that for a second. Now, as far as 5G goes, I'm not excited about this. I'm not buying into these 5G phones, and because ultimately what you're going to do is you're going to buy a phone, and if you want to be on the 5G bandwagon, your current phone is obsolete, then you got to turn around and buy a different phone which is 5G compatible, and you might want to buy the same phone. So if it doesn't exist, you got to switch phones. So I say to you about this 5G thing, these 5G phones, kick back, relax, folks. Don't get so hyped about it to where, you know, you're immediately ready to just give your money up for a 5G phone. Just kind of chill and watch as things unfold and give it a little bit of time. As a reviewer, you might see a lot of us jump out there and grab it, but that doesn't mean you have to. So if you're interested in the 5G phones, I'm going to tell you, don't buy any of the current phones that are available at this point that are being released unless they say 5G. keep what you got and wait until 5G is actually here and it's across the board, then upgrade to a 5G phone. Now, with that being said, OnePlus just kind of teased this phone. You know, it doesn't have any cutouts or areas at the top, you know what it's called. And it's just a 21x9, and it's got the Snapdragon 855. Now, a few days back, something was announced, and you know, I didn't really talk about it at all. I haven't really been on social media, but it is the folding phone era that everybody is so excited about. And Huawei has decided to, now we know that Samsung has released their version of what they think is the best folding phone design. It is a first gen device, and a lot of people are making so many excuses for this phone. I'm not buying into the excuses. Listen, you brought it out. We know it's going to get better later, but that phone has a $2,000 price tag, and Huawei has decided to one-up them by bringing out a $2,600 phone. Now, here's my problem with these selling points. But first, let me get to the Huawei phone. It's spectacular. I think it's a much better design than what Samsung is doing. Now, Xiaomi also has their tri-folding phone as well, and I think that's a better design than what Samsung has for folding phones. But this Huawei phone, this Huawei Mate X, it folds open into an 8-inch display, 2200 by 2480, 40 megapixel camera, 8 gigs of RAM, Kirin 980, which we already know is a boss, and a 4500 milliamp battery. Yeah, it's got 512 gigs of RAM, 512 gigs of storage with that 8 gigs of RAM, a 40 megapixel, a 16 megapixel, and an 8 megapixel. Wide, ultra wide telephoto. This is the norm now. So, and after that, it's just a phone that flips out into an Android tablet. And I say this, the folding phone era, it's coming. You know what I'm saying? It's coming. We're going to see people walking around with phones that fold open. What we won't see is a lot of people. This is kind of like the people who choose to spend money on a Ferrari and still get beat by a demon, a Hellcat or something like that. You get what I'm saying? So companies now are selling you on this luxury phone, and I see a lot of you guys have already fell victim to it, man. You guys have already felt, oh, this is innovation. I was reading some of the comments on some of the other videos that I put out about the fold. I put out a video talking about the folding phone and, you know, the Samsung devices, and wow, you guys are so emotional, man. Some of you guys are thinking in the right way to think about this. Some of you guys have already fallen victim to the luxury phone. Folks, if you choose to go out and spend $2 grand on a phone, something that you could slip out of your pocket and cracks on the first drive, leave it, lose it somewhere, or just anything. If you choose to do that, it's your prerogative. I'm not gonna tell you not to. Huawei is choosing to drop right now it says it's $2,600. And if you choose to fall into this belief that you're getting a luxury phone, more power to you. I don't know what to tell you. I personally am not falling for this is a luxury phone. Some of you guys were talking about that. Jay, well, it's a luxury phone. It's not going to be for everybody. Listen, gosh, man, you got to stop making excuses for these companies, man. If you choose to make that $2,000 purchase and then you drop your phone, it's a wrap. File insurance, get another one. You just keep doing this. And some of you guys are not gonna. Some of you guys are gonna finance these phones for 48 months. It's like buying a laptop or a car or something. I don't know. I really hope that you guys enjoy your tech. Not hating on the tech, but the price tags, folks. These naming conventions. The iPhone S, the iPhone XS, the Galaxy S10, you know, the 10e, all these things are just names. And Huawei choosing to price this phone at $2,600, as beautiful as it is, nice design. I think it looks much better than the Samsung version. Yeah, I'm going to tell you guys, this is an easy pass for me. If I wouldn't spend $2 grand on the Samsung version, which I'm not really a fan of the outside of the body of it, definitely not going to give Huawei $2,600. And the Huawei is not going to be on a carrier, at least not in the US. So you know, if anybody in the US has this phone, they kicked out $2,600. Or they were giving it for free for review. Don't know what else to tell you. So Huawei's phone looks enticing. However, I'm not falling for the luxury design. Not happening. Now, another phone that recently was announced at Mobile World Congress was the LG G8. The G8 ThinQ, I guess, or Think, or however you want to say it. It's going to be just in line. There's not much to say about this. It's in line with every other LG phone that's currently out. A replacement for the G7. And you want to see what the G8 looks like? You know, go look at the G7 and then just kind of give it new internals. They've got all these gestures and things like that. Things that people will never use, man. No one's going to be... I'm to the point where I don't even like to use Face ID. I would just put in a fingerprint or a pin or something. So you got to keep that in mind. The G8 is not a bad phone from what I could see. And I'm just not impressed with it. It's at least not the way LG does business in these recent years. They're bringing out these phones that cost $900, $980, $950, and then after the first adapters buy them, they're on sale for like $400 off. I've learned my lesson. I'm gonna wait, and I possibly will get the G8 more than likely. You know, I'm just not gonna be an early adapter. Even with all the free bonuses that they give, oh, get a free VR, get a free TV, get a free headset. I'm not falling for it. When I get my hands on the G8, then I might consider, because the V40 was actually pretty awesome. The price was still too much for me for what I want to do with LG right now. So I would tell you guys, if you're thinking about the G8, there's people that are going to just buy the G8 regardless because they love LG. So consider that. Not knocking it, but I just learned my lesson about buying up front with LG. Beautiful. The V40 was just an awesome phone with beautiful cameras. It's an easy pass for me right now just because of the price. Because the resale on that is horrible. You know, you got them. The V40 was selling and the V30 was selling for like $500 to $600 on Swappa immediately after they were released. I'm like, wow. You know, so that kills the resale value. Nonetheless, a lot in the news. So that's all I'm going to cover for today, man. I hope you guys enjoyed. Tell me what you think about Sony, OnePlus, Huawei, ZTE. Super excited about the Axon 10 Pro. I should have kicked out my Axon. I haven't fired it up in a minute. But yeah, there's another Lenovo phone. But, you know, I don't really cover a lot of Lenovo phones. You know, if the price is right, you know, maybe I'll bring it in. Also, you got the Redmi Note 7 Pro renders are starting to leak, but it's pretty much all the same. So, it's your man Jay. Monday smartphone news. You got the LG V50 that I didn't talk about, you know, but again, it's along those same lines, you know, for LG is doing. So, I will see you guys in the next video. Hope you guys enjoyed the news. It's always fun. Take care.